That's fucking minging, though.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Roker Report podcast in association with the Sunlun Community Soup Kitchen. It's Gav and you join us in the aftermath of Sunderland's devastating defeat at Elland Road. We were 1-0 up, we were getting there, we were close, and then in the last 13-14 minutes of the game we tossed it away. And as you can probably tell in my voice, I'm gutted about the result because I just feel like we deserved a little bit more from the game. And yeah, we're going to talk about it, aren't we, Chris? Hello mate.
Do we have to?
I know, I did say that to you, didn't I? Before we even started recording. I was like, oh God, do we have to do this? But we do. We can't just be fair weather and turn up when it's all rosy in the garden. We've got to talk about the bad times too. And I think the reason this feels so devastating was just the timing of the goals, wasn't it? Like, we're cruising towards the end of the game, even though Leeds were definitely the better team in the second half. We were restricting them to nout, really. I mean, looking at the stats now, 21 shots Leeds had, 4 on target. They didn't really do a great deal despite dominating the ball. We took our chance that we had a couple of other decent ones where we could have maybe got a few more, didn't take those. And yeah, they get 2 set pieces and score from both of them. And it's just a massive kick in the bollocks, isn't it? Because it feels like we were so close to achieving a massive result. And we've not only... I mean, a massive result would have been a draw, by the way, as well. I think a draw would have still been a good result.
Oh, yeah.
And
definitely.
to come away and feel like this and just know that we've got nothing from it is really gutting.
It is. And I think the frustrating thing is coming from the performance. Because first half, we went in at half time and I thought, we'd kept them at arm's length. You know, that if you look at the first half, I think we limited them to one half chance in like the 49th minute. And that was that kind of looped cross and the header where 09 kind of cleared it a yard off the line. But that was all they had in the first half. And we kind of, they had possession and territory, but we seemed in control. Our positioning was perfect. We didn't allow them through the lines. And we went in half time and I just thought, we've kind of got this. And you always expect the home team, when they're behind, to come out second half and give it a go and push on and get forward and put the pressure on. And yeah, it happened a little bit, but you look with 20 minutes left, there was a stat that came up and we'd, in the second half, up to the 70th minute with 20 minutes remaining, we'd had 2 shots on target. They hadn't had a shot on target in that second half with 20 minutes to go. So even though we were conceding territory, we still weren't giving them chances. They were still struggling. I was getting messages off Leeds fans who I know, who I was sending messages throughout the game, and they were going, "Oh no, you've kind of, you've drawn up the drawbridge here, and that's it. We're not going to score here. We've got no chance. Crosses were overhit. You said, oh, you're set in your trenches now, and all this sort of stuff." But that's how it looked. We're about 20 minutes to go, and. Speaking again, sending messages after the game and stuff, they were talking about their substitutions making a difference because he made 2 subs on 71 minutes and 5 minutes later they were on level terms. Although it was, and we'll get into it. I'm sure we'll get into the detail, but it was again through us kind of, I wouldn't say gifting, but us silly little mistakes and not being good enough in specific moments, rather than kind of Leeds playing through us and Leeds being absolutely fantastic. But that's where the frustration is. First half brilliant, up to 20 minutes to go, they hadn't had a shot on target in the second half, and we end up losing. That's the frustration. Like, we know with the level of performance, we should have gotten something out of that game. Yeah,
them changes that you talk about made a massive difference because I think it was Gruev who went off and his set pieces had been shocking. He'd had loads. They'd had loads of corners and free kicks and his deliveries were awful. And they brought on Rothwell, who then made a massive difference to that respect. And then obviously Strauch, the lad who got the 2 goals, gave them a presence in the box that they didn't have. It was massive. It was. And, we've got to defend better. I mean, we'll go on to the goals in a bit, but you're right. We shot ourselves in the foot. Both goals were stupid. I've seen already in the aftermath of the game, I've seen a lot of people whinging about our subs and stuff, but it wasn't our subs that lost us the game. It was mistakes. It was you look at the first goal, Patrick Roberts gives away a ridiculous free kick that he doesn't need to give away, diving in with his left foot as the lad's getting away from him, and then they score from it. And then the second one, Patterson just completely misjudges the ball coming into the box, and it's a free header. And you can say what you want about the changes that were made. I thought they made sense when he made them. I thought when you looked at it, Rigg was knackered, Isidore was knackered. I could see the sense in bringing Samed and putting him up higher up the pitch to try and win the ball high up the pitch, really. That was ultimately the aim, to put him there. But within, a couple of minutes, they were level, and those subs were null and void then, because we brought them on to see the game out. We give a stupid free kick away. We concede from it. It's not the subs' fault. It's not the fault of the manager when he made them changes that we conceded from the goal, because I think Roberts has got to be better on that one. And then the second one, like I say, we were under a lot of pressure, but your goalkeeper cannot miss the ball coming into the box with seconds left on the clock. You just can't. It's we hadn't got rid of the ball. They make something of it, and still though we were pretty solid on defending set pieces. But your goalkeeper cannot miss the ball. As soon as he's out the equation, it's an open goal, and that's what happened. And it's just really disappointing. I mean, it's not the first time we've said this about Patterson, to be honest. I thought otherwise he'd had an all right game. I thought he was good with his feet. Their crowd was quite, boisterous, and they were getting on his case whenever the ball was coming into him. He didn't look under pressure. I know one of the big criticisms of Patterson is his kicking, but I thought his kicking was absolutely fine for the majority of the game. I can't really grumble in that respect. He was fine. That's normally the big criticism of Patterson, but for me it was the commanding of his area, the ball coming over the top like that. You cannot miss the ball. And it was those two mistakes that cost us, because if Roberts doesn't give the free kick away, we don't concede the first, and then everything escalates from that point. And it's just stupid. And I'm really disappointed, because when you look at the game, out of possession, we grafted our balls off. We were absolutely relentless without the ball. The lads, I'm just gutted for them, because they just worked so hard to try and get something out of that game, and to come away with nout. I mean, I'm looking here now, 6 yellow cards we picked up. People run themselves into the ground, and it was all for nout in the end.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, if we're getting into the goals, I mean, look, you talked about Roberts giving away a stupid free kick, and it was a really stupid tackle. I mean, he tackled with the wrong foot. He didn't have to really kind of dive in there. He could have just stood up to him. Stupid position to give away a free kick. But I will say, and it's not necessarily in Roberts' defence, but I don't think we had a player on the pitch who didn't give away a stupid free kick in a stupid position.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How many free kicks did we give away in the final third? But for nothing. Like, it wasn't like they were breaking past us and we had to give fouls away. They were really stupid fouls. Like Hume had one where he didn't have to dive in. Serkin had 2 or 3 where he just didn't need to put a tackle in, give free kicks away. Bellingham had a couple. Dan Neil had a couple. I mean, like I said, I don't think there was a Sunlun player on the pitch who didn't give away a daft free kick. And it was going to come eventually, because you allow a team like Leeds to knock the ball in, 12, 13 times. I reckon it was well into double figures how many daft free kicks we gave them in really stupid positions. And daft corners as well. I mean, actually, the corner that led to the second goal, I thought was, Serkin kind of slipped, but was a bit out of position. And, and then I'm not sure if Patterson could have kept it in or he deflected it out, but it seemed like a comedy of errors to lead to us conceding a corner. And it was that sort of, and after, like you said, after busting a gut and having such a good performance in the first half, to let these little niggly mistakes cost us like this, because the problem is with the second half as well, like compared to the first, was we were too frantic in possession. It seemed like first half where we were really controlled with it and made sure we kept the ball, and at times we just dropped really deep and just said, right, we're good. And there was a period in the first half where Lugo 9 stood on the ball for about 10 seconds, completely still, because he's like, I'm going to take the sting out of the game. Didn't do that second half. We didn't seem to have the nous to go, let's just stand on it, let's keep it, let's pass it 5 yards and just for a couple of minutes. The other mistake you're talking about, if you look back at the highlights of injury time, it was like 92nd, 93rd minute. Mayenda getting the ball forward, and then he played the ball back to Samid, we were still attacking them, trying to knock the ball in the box and trying to, like, my ender had a perfect opportunity to take the ball in the corner. Even if he took the sting out of it for another 30 seconds, like that's 30 seconds off the clock. And then they've got to attack from probably their own corner flag or whatever, and we're back in defensive positions. But we decided to attack. Now, you can say, oh, well, I would prefer to be like that. And would prefer to keep attacking and try and win even when we're drawn. But sometimes you've got to be a bit pragmatic and say we're away to Leeds and we're all right. We've been under pressure. It's 1-1. Keep just run the clock out, get a point. Brilliant. But it was just decision making like that, and I don't know if you want to. You mentioned Patterson, and I've asked questions of him before in the past, and I think he was poor on both goals. I think that it was a great free kick in, don't get us wrong, brilliant free kick, brilliant area. But if a player flicks it from there, it's only going in one place. Like, it's only going in one direction. They're not flicking it in the near post. Like, it's going to be flicked to the far post. And if you watch that goal back again, I think his dive's a bit half-hearted. Mm. And I don't know if he's worried about 09 next to him on the line, like he's going to clatter into him or whatever. But he doesn't fling himself at the ball. He doesn't kind of stretch his, when you see a goalkeeper do a full stretch, it's nothing like that.
No.
It's almost like his arm's not extended properly. And then for me, the second goal, I mean, that's a goalkeeper's job. Mm-hmm. like the ball's crossed in and it's not gone over him. If you watch, it's not gone over him. His hand's too slow to it and he actually misses the ball. And for a keeper, that's his job. Like, he can't miss them. When a ball's played into the box like that, he's got to get something onto it. He tips it up, he gets a finger onto it, anything. Because a finger onto it can take it above a striker's head or onto his forehead so he can't header it properly into the back of the net, anything. You get something on it. But when you miss it and you're out the game, it's 9 times out of 10 it's going to be a goal because it's gone behind you. Someone's bound to be there, can deflect in or whatever, but the point is you're out the game. And I thought it was just poor goalkeeping. You can talk about tactics, you can talk about subs, but it was very specific moments that we let ourselves down.
Yeah, you mentioned it before there about the difference between the first half and the second half and the way we looked after the ball. First half, you were right. We just got it back to 09 and Ballard and they played it round the back and got it into Dan Neil. Just very methodical, took our time, took the pressure off. Gave ourselves a breather, gave Leeds a breather, but we looked after the ball a bit better. Second half, it was just we aimlessly launching it up and it was coming straight back. Even our own goal kicks, when Patterson wasn't comfortable with going short. And look, Leeds are the best pressing team in the division, so I can understand it to a degree. You want to be fairly cautious. But at the same time, we were humping it forward and we had no chance of winning the headers. Isidore was trying his best. Rigg was trying his best. Most of the time it was overhit. And then all that did was it put the ball back at the feet of the Leeds players who could start again. And I think to a degree we were expecting that, which is why we were so good in our shape when we didn't have the ball. But I just think we let ourselves down because first half we did everything right. That was almost a perfect performance first half. Like everything we did was spot on. The goal, which we haven't even mentioned yet, was an absolutely brilliant goal. Great ball by Ballard, gets Isidore in behind, but even still, he's got so much to do. Completely muscles Ampadu off the ball. And then even the finish is outstanding, just to get a shot away as he does. Again, Wilson Isidore has been the shining light of this team for a while now. What's that, his 7th goal in 11 games, I think? He's been brilliant for us, and it's just a real shame that nobody's going to be talking too much about his goal from this game because it was a deserved winner in most games. You know what I mean? It was a fantastic goal. But we did everything brilliantly in the first half, and in second half it was always going to be a different game. Leeds were behind. Look, there's no getting around the fact they're the best team in the league. They're outstanding. Relentless on the ball. I was actually shocked with the subs when they made them because I thought Tanaka was brilliant. He was absolutely outstanding. He never gave the ball away. He was just outstanding. And they made the decision to bring him off, and I was a bit intrigued by that. I was thinking, And that's strange. I think he's been their best player, but regardless, it proved to be the right call, you know. And it just shows the depth they've got. I mean, when you look at who they brought on, fair enough. Strike, outstanding centre-half, would start for pretty much every other team in the league. Rothwell with his deliveries. Ramazani, a winger who they paid a fortune for. Matteo Joseph, who they paid a fortune for. I mean, you look, even Nonto didn't even get on. Willie Nonto, who's an outstanding winger. They've got so much quality on their bench. And it made a difference. It did. And I mentioned this when we previewed the game. I looked at their game last weekend where they were 2 or 3 up, and then they just brought on a raft of quality players to change it for their own sake, to give lads a breather. They are brilliant. They've got lots of good players, but at the same time, we matched them for most of that. I mean, first half, I think it was Neil Warnock at half time said Sunderland were deservedly ahead. Sunderland were the better team. We were totally in control of it. And that's where it's not the first time we've done this, by the way, where we've got the tail end of a game and we've lost control. And you've got to question why that is. Like, why have we just let it slip like we did? I mean, like I said to you before, I would have still snapped your arm for a point. If we'd been sat here at full time, 1-1, I would have been talking now, saying to you, happy days. I would have took that before the game. Nobody else is. I mean, that was the first goal they've conceded since, did they say New Year's Day or Boxing Day? It was around that time. They've been brilliant for a while.
Good.
Yeah. So even get the goal was a big deal. But it's difficult now because, you know, you look at the league table and we're now 8 points off second place with 12 games to go. I mean, Leeds play Sheffield United at the weekend, so that if we beat Hull and Leeds do us a favour and beat Sheffield United, then that'll be reduced back to 5. But there is a marked difference between, I think anyways, between Leeds and everybody else. And what I'm a bit annoyed about is that there's distance between us and Sheffield United, because I don't rate them. Even though I'm so disappointed with this result, and it's done everyone else a massive favour, I still think we're better than Sheffield United and Burnley, but the table doesn't lie. They're ahead of us by 8 points. It would be 10 if they hadn't had a points deduction. I just don't get it, because every time I watch Sheffield United, they're shit, but they still manage to win games. Anyways, I'm rambling here, but regardless, what I'm saying is that off the back of this, we have to. It's a very obvious thing to say, but we've got to pick ourselves up for the weekend, because it's now we're in the territory of we just need to win games to try and stay close, and it's going to be tough.
I mean, look, again, you're talking about how good Leeds are, and again, that's where the frustration builds up. Because for the majority of the game we looked in control. Leeds didn't look like scoring until they made the subs. You could argue, you know, even though for the first part of the second half, it was almost, you could see we were starting to make daft decisions. You could see we were retreating a little bit. You could see, the fouls we were giving away, the daft passes we were giving away. We weren't keeping possession well enough. You could see that was happening very slowly in the game, but we still had them at arm's length. Like, they weren't creating chances. They didn't create many chances in that game. And you're saying, and I agree with you when you say Leeds are the best team in this division. And I've said, the last couple of weeks on this pod that Leeds will win the title. I believe that probably, even if we're getting a point or whatever, I still think Leeds were favourites to win the title. They're the best team in the league. But we matched them for so long, and not just matched them. We were the better team, and we deserved to take the lead. And I think we deserved to take a point. We deserved something out of it, and I actually just think we've shot ourselves in the foot. Mm-hmm. I think it was almost the psychology of the thing, like that retreating. I don't think it was Leeds really kind of going on the front foot. I think it was us just doing things differently because of that stage in the game. And it was a bizarre thing to do, like to stop doing the things that worked so well. And people will say, was it the subs? And there was an interesting, I mean, I was thinking about the first goal, because off the free kick when Roberts gave it away. And I mean, I'm not kind of blaming the subs. I think there were subs that, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna make that type of sub, because Rigg looked knackered, and actually he'd had a minimal kind of input to the game. Isidore looked absolutely knackered, and fair play to him being taken off, because we needed someone to stretch the game and run in behind. So you had to change Isidore up front. But if you look at the goal, the ball came in, and what actually happened was Samed got easily pushed down. Now, he'd only been on the pitch 2 minutes. So Leeds, you can see Leeds had a set-piece routine where they got Samed out the way. And if you look at the front post, Mayenda's at the front post, and he's easily pushed under the ball. So both of them are pushed out the way because it's a routine like to move players out the way so they can get that flick. And if you look, there was 3 Leeds players lined up to head to make that flick because Samed had been pushed out the way in Mayenda. And it's these players coming onto a game which is high tempo, physical. And then these players are coming on pretty cold to a game like that, and they've got to get used to the tempo and the physicality of the game. 2 minutes in, free kick, and they get easily brushed down and brushed off the ball. And sometimes, and I mean, I'm not just having a go at them as specific players. It's that impact when subs come on. It's something you've got to take into account. When you bring a sub on, he's coming into this, the heat of the battle when players who are in there know how hard they need to tackle and the kind of the speed of the game. And maybe they got caught cold for that free kick, because Samed went down too easily. I don't think he was expecting to get pushed like that. And Mayenda just got eased under the ball. So, there's that element when you bring subs on that they come on cold and they're not focused on what they need to do. And then, they're not used to the physical side of it yet. And that's what happens. It's, one of the reasons, managers don't make subs when you're defending corners because players coming on cold. They don't like it. That's the first job that they need to do. And this was only, like I said, a minute or so after they came on. So there's just so much that kind of went into it. And I'm slightly, I want to say disappointed. But again, I think it's just frustration coming out that we bossed it for so long. Like I said, with 20 minutes to go, I was writing down saying they haven't had a shot on target. And then after that, 5 minutes later or so, they're back on level terms.
Yep, and it's a tough one to take, like I keep saying, because we've done so much to that point to concede a daft free kick and then do that. I think it's galling really, and I think the only other gripe I had, and I don't want to make this all about whinging because we did have a moment there where we were very close, but
we've said we were good though.
Yeah,
we've said we were really good. We'll give praise when it's due.
Yeah. But I think our wide players just weren't involved enough. And I don't know whether that was maybe because their fullbacks push so high. I mean, it's amazing, really, when you look at Bogle. He doesn't even play right back, does he? He's virtually on the wing the whole game.
Yeah, but he got that yellow card in the first half. And so, he got that yellow card in the first half. So you come out and you go, right, we'll have a go at him. Every time you get the ball, take him on.
Yeah.
Knock it past him, and see he's got to do something.
Lafayette just didn't get in the game second half.
Nah, he disappeared second half completely.
And I like him, and I think he shows good
brilliant
moments.
player.
But there was a couple of times where Leeds were really piling the pressure on, and the ball went out to him in particular, and he didn't look after it well enough, which is not something he's done yet so far.
But nobody did.
No, you're right. It wasn't just down to him. It wasn't just down to him.
It spread throughout the team. Nobody just put a foot on it and said, right, I'm going to keep this ball. It seemed like we were almost, in the end, wanting to kick it to the corners.
Yeah, and I think that's something which you kind of lose sight of the fact that we are basically without. Well, Mundell was back on the bench, but he's been missing for so long. He's going to take time to come back up to speed. Watson's still not back in the fold. So, we're asking Lafayette to play out of position, and he's done brilliantly there, by the way. But we don't have the option. Like Leeds, like I said, they didn't even bring Nonto on, but they had Ramazani on the bench. They had Joseph on the bench, who can genuinely change a game in them positions. We just didn't have them options, and I know a lot of people are upset with how Patrick Roberts is playing at the minute, and not just this game, but in other games where he's not giving us enough at the tail end of the pitch. We're not getting assists out of him. We're not getting goals out of him. But at the same time, you're looking around, you're thinking, well, we don't have the options at the minute. I think in the next few weeks, once Mundell's up to speed, you're probably going to see less and less of him, or at least you're going to see him really under threat for his place. Because Paveda came on, and I actually don't think he did anything wrong. It wasn't really a game where he could come on and take it by the scruff of the net, really. I thought he did all right, maybe touch the ball.
It was only 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, maybe only touched the ball a couple of times. Won us a couple of good free kicks actually when we were trying to get out, and I like that when a winger does that, when they can win you a free kick and just take the steam off a little bit. But I feel for him, because this wasn't really a game where he was going to come on and do anything of note. I think it was a case we just needed to try and see the game out. And yeah, I think in the next few weeks you're going to see a bit of a difference in those positions, because we're probably now at this point in the season where you're just wanting that little bit of a different option in the attacking third. Romain Mundle's going to be really important for that, and I think the last couple of games we've maybe needed. It would have been lovely to have him back a little bit sooner and just be able to call upon him.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, as well as brilliant as Lafay is, that could he have not swapped to the right hand side, and could Mayenda have taken up his position that he had earlier in the season on the left, or like Lafay move into the middle and maybe kind of just after half time, because look, I think Rigg was a bit anonymous in the first half, even though we played so well. It's like in possession, he had a couple of decent moments, but most of the time he was missing, or he wasn't in good positions to receive the ball, and you wonder if Mayenda coming on the left would have given us that extra edge in breaking and putting Lafay. Then you've got Lafay in the middle, where he wants to play, and then maybe second half, when we were saying that Lafay was disappearing out the game, that was a way to get him back in the thick of the action, bring him in centrally, and then Mayenda could break down the left-hand side and then join Isidore when we need to. I mean, you look at earlier in the season, and that's where most of our points came from. The amount of brilliant performances we had with Mayenda breaking from the left and Isidore up front holding it up. And like I said, Rigg didn't give us much, and Roberts didn't give us much, and it's been a common theme in the last few weeks that they're just out of form, and every player in the squad is going to go through these patches where they need a bit of a break, and sometimes flogging them when they're out of form just seems pointless. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, how long do you just keep playing them and kind of keep doing the same thing until they find their form again? You look at our bench today, and I think that's the strongest bench we've put out this season.
There's no kids on the bench for once.
No, Mepham on the bench, Brown on the bench, Alexis, Mundle, Poveda, Mayenda, Yelder. I mean, that's
the only problem there is the ones like you would like to be able to bring Brown and Mundle on, but they've not got the minutes in the legs yet, so he's not trusted them to bring them on. But they will eventually,
But Poveda came on 85th minute.
Yeah.
So, like, if they can't come on, if Mundle and Brown aren't able to come on from the 85th minute or whatever, then don't put them on the bench.
Mm.
Have you put them on the bench just to train or warm up? I mean, you put them on the bench because they might be needed. Mm-hmm. Now, if they're not fit enough to play 5-10 minutes, then don't put them on. Yeah. But that's a strong bench, and I'm not. Again, we can look in hindsight, and people can say about the subs. I'm not going to say he got those subs particularly wrong. I mean, you look at who he switched out. Rigg came off, Roberts came off. That's who we're saying went missing in the game. Isidore was knackered. Fair play. But I'm thinking with Mayenda, it seems to be this straight swap for Isidore. Whereas I'm thinking in the first period of the second half, have Mayenda on the left and then bring Isidore off later and put someone else on the left and push Mayenda up front. But it just seemed like we needed help breaking out in the second half. And Mayenda just seemed to have been like, and Mayenda was kind of tracking back first half of the season when he was in that position. And it just, I would have thought that was the natural change and he seems to want to get Lafay into the game. But keeping him out on the left just didn't seem to work. And the other thing was Dennis Serkin. I thought he looked exposed in that second half. And, he made a couple of, daft decisions in the first half as well. But yeah, look, all of this is frustration of how well we played for probably an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
Which is worse. It's worse that way. It's almost like I'd rather go to Leeds and just almost in a way go, we didn't turn up and we got beat. Fair play. Yeah. You hold your hands up. But the frustrating thing is we were the better team for at least 45 minutes, if not an hour. And then, like I said, even when we started losing control, it was still our daft mistakes. It was still on us. It wasn't Leeds, really doing something special. It was us.
Yeah. The one thing I would say as well, because I've seen a bit of this discourse about, my end are not starting games. I think the logic behind it is we've not got those attacking options fit yet. So Isidore needs an option on the bench he can come off for. Like, we can't significantly weaken the sides. You start the game with Isidore and Mayenda with no other striker on the bench who can come on in the game and replace one of them. That is an issue. So I think Abdullah can't be far off now. He's playing quite well for the 21s. Maybe that'll give them another option over the next few weeks. Mundell obviously will. And then maybe we'll see Mayenda start more games, because I actually really like Eliza Mayenda, and I can kind of understand the logic behind why he's not playing, even though I think the manager would want to start him more. Because if you'd had another, let's just say what's happened where Dan's hadn't happened and we'd had him on the bench, this game would have been perfect for the pair of them. Just them balls over the top, the pace over the top would have been ideal to start the pair of them. But you can sort of understand why Mayenda didn't, because there was always, especially knowing we weren't going to have the ball for large swathes of the game, we ran a lot. Isidore was going to be tired, and we needed to bring somebody on for him.
But this is what I'm saying. You could bring him on earlier and then have the both of them on for 20 minutes, and then bring Isidore off for someone else and push Mayenda up front. Because I just think that the first half of the second half, it was crying out for that. We needed a bit of an outlet. And like I said, with Lafayette going kind of, a bit missing on that left, bring him back in the middle, get him on the ball, get him to put a foot on it, and have Mayenda out there to stretch the play with a long diagonal, because we were getting joy from that in the first half when we were really stretching the play and playing those long diagonals. We were giving them something to think about, and we were turning them around. We just never did that in the second half.
Tough one to take then. I'm sure that's come across in this. You're right. We've highlighted a lot of positives. We were definitely the better team in the first half. Even though we let Leeds get more control in the second half, we still didn't concede many massive chances. We never really looked exposed, I would say, until they made changes. They made subs which changed the game, and it was from set pieces. And they'd had a lot of set pieces, so I think their manager had gambled on the fact they were going to win more set pieces as the game went on. They did, and it cost us. And we're gutted, yes, we're gutted, but this isn't going to define our season. I mean, I think the majority of the neutrals watching the game will have been very, very impressed with us. That's as much as anyone's pushed Leeds in a long time. And I said before the game, they're the best team in the league. They are. We know they are. They're going to win the league. Rightly so. They've got the best players. They play the best football. The manager's got them playing in a way where they can really devastate teams. I mean, they put 7 past someone the other week. They're a good team. And we can't come off the back of this and let it define us, because there's still 12 games to go. Like I say, if results go our way at the weekend, we'll be back to a 5-point gap, and that's attainable, because I don't rate Burnley, I don't rate Sheffield United. I think we can catch both of those teams. It'll make the tail end of the season very interesting, but all we've learned from this tonight really is that Leeds are the best team in the league. Champions do that. Champions let the season be defined by moments like that. I remember us doing it when Roy Keane was in charge. I think it was Liam Miller scored a header against Derby when they were right up there with us, and we won the game right at the death, and we won the league. And when you win the league, you have results like that go your way, and I just think it's one of them. It's just one of them. Yeah. I'm really gutted about it, but I'm also not losing sight of the fact that we're still in a really good position.
No, we are. I mean, look, Leeds United, they've scored, I think it's like 17 more than the next side in the league. They're the league's, top goal scorers, and we limited them to scraps. I mean, they really hardly had a chance against us. If you look at all the little half chances they had, never got in behind us. We looked comfortable for so much of that game, and then in the end, it came down to a scrappy goal. It came down to a set piece, which I think we should have dealt with better, and it came down to that daft goal at the corner, which was a misjudgment from Argh, and that's what the top scorers had to live off, playing us. And we've played Burnley, we've played those top 3, we've played Burnley, Sheffield United and Leeds recently, and we've matched all of them. And this, again, that's another frustration, that in those games, I think we deserved more. The Sheffield United game at Bramall Lane, we deserve more. We should have beat Burnley at Burnley. We should have gotten at least a point at Leeds. And that, that's the frustration, that in the performances for the majority, at least the majority of those games, we've matched them. And that's a massive frustration that we're up there on merit and we're nowhere as good as these sides on our day. And I think now, 8-point gap, and it is a big game, Sheffield United, Leeds, and you kind of hope for our sake Leeds just run away with it now and the other two slip up. But for me, I mean, it's only a slim hope now, the top two. For me, it's get ourselves right for making sure we're in the playoffs. Obviously, keep the momentum going because you never know how much they might slip up. But it's put a massive dent in my hope to get into that top two.
One game at a time. We'll see. We'll be back with a preview anyways for Hull. We need to clear our heads, clear our minds, try and get over this as quick as possible. That's what the players and the manager have got to do too. Move on, because it's another big game at the weekend against a team who are fighting down the bottom. Like I say though, if we're sat here after the weekend's results and we beat them and Leeds do us a favour against Sheffield United, we'll be thinking about, we'll be back in the same position we were in prior. So
because it's usually plain sailing when we play a team down there at home. Isn't it?
Well, that's it exactly. Yeah, Gelhardt and Burstow playing up front.
Oh, magic!
Yeah,
I know where my money's going.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. Thanks as always. Cheers for joining us at this hour to talk about such a deflating result.
Well, you made me do it.
I did actually. Held you at knife point. And thanks, listeners, if you made it this far and you took any pleasure from listening to us whinge and cry and moan and all the rest of it. It's a really tough one to take, but we'll take it on the chin. I think it's one of them. Cheers, mate. Thanks as always. Appreciate it, buddy. Cheers to the listeners. Thank you very much. Like I say, we'll be back with a preview. Make sure you catch up with everything on rokerreport.sbnation.com as we build up that game against Hull and try and get the Leeds performance and result out of our minds. And let's crack on.
Footy anymore.
No, I don't either. Catch us all later.